Welcome to the 26th episode of the Global Speakers Advantage podcast. My name is Oliver Shom, and today we're going to be having a very exciting conversation with a very impactful, valuable guest that we got. And this is not any other person, but the one and only Reverend Cosmos Samuel. And stay tuned with me, and we're going to be right back as even as we introduce our guest of today. He is a Reverend Pastor, and he is a visionary leader, a transformational leader beyond the country and continent, and he has touched quite a lot of lives of young people in Africa and around the world. And so I will charge you right now to get your pen and to get your notepad because the conversation is going to be so intriguing, life stirring, and transformational. And so get ready even as we write. Okay. So straight away, I want to welcome our guest. Welcome, Reverend Cosmos.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you. Yeah, I'm glad for this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me.
I love that. Thank you so much, my brother. And it's such a pleasure for us to have you here at the Global Speakers Advantage podcast, where we share stories of transformations, stories of transition, and stories of impact that can be able to inspire people from around the world. And so, for people who are listening to us right now and they don't know who is Reverend Cosmos, can you tell our listeners who is Reverend Cosmos, please?
I am a boy from Oko in the northwest region of Cameroon. And and I am a Christian, and by God's grace is a pastor as well. And yes, and I do what I can, as much as I can, to be a good Christian, first of all, because being a child of God is the most important thing I can think of. And I have a family, I have a wife. I'm married to Moa Hilarine, and we are blessed with 3 kids, Phoebe, Seth, and Peace. Yeah, that is me.
I love that. That's such a succinct introduction. You know, this is beautiful. So, can you tell us, Reverend Cosmos, what actually inspired you into youth ministry, especially as you began your career with the Cameroon Baptist Convention?
I would say I grew up as a Cameroon Baptist Convention child. I grew up in the youth group, and I spent the youth group was an important part of my own spiritual growth. So when I grew up, I was just in there, and it became my source. It became my platform, kind of. So uh, growing up as a young youth in Menda Baptist Church, more to be precise, Menda Baptist Church in Bamenda, I grew up as a youth there, and I was like growing up, moved to Ndop, continued growing up as a youth, being helped by many pastors. I found myself growing to a point where I was beginning to assume some leadership responsibilities in the youth group, in the association, in the field, and eventually in the convention. So I would say my own life and the impact that the youth group made to me kind of just pulled me. God used that to pull me into youth ministry.
That's really exciting, and I see the journey how it started and it's unfolding. So, born in CBC, grew up in CBC, served in CBC, such a blessing. So,
Yeah.
what were some of the most exciting and unforgettable moments you had serving in CBC that you cannot really forget them easily, right?
There are many of such moments. And one of those is when I was in high school, I would say. When I was in high school in GBHS and up, I had moments where I had this group of friends, and together we would do evangelism in the villages, we would do evangelism in the communities, we do evangelism in schools. We we carry out a lot of ministry. Like that I could say. So it was really a moment for me, I would say that, because a lot of things about my giftedness, a lot of things about my relationship with God were kind of tested. And that is where I could find my ground, kind of. So another moment was later on, much later, when I became a missionary at the Basosia Mission Station. While there, I could see God use me in things that I never thought was going to happen. Yeah, I could see God use me mightily amongst people that I don't understand their language. I was still learning their language, living in a community that is really different from the communities we are a lot used to. So those were great moments in my life. I had people I work with, and it was really a joy working with them because we saw what God was doing through us. Another moment I would say, just to leave it there, is my relationship with the late Reverend Tar Martin. That was my predecessor in the youth office. I During the time he was youth director, even before he became youth director, we had a very close relationship. And I learned a lot from was, uh, how he worked with me. Let me put it that way. How he worked with me. He got me involved in many things, many of the ministry steps he was taking. And that was a great thing for me, a great experience for me. I learned a lot. I made my own input where possible. But yes, it was a great thing. This is somebody who, while he was in seminary, we were close. I was not yet in seminary, but he taught me a lot of things. He became a pastor. I was not. I was still a high school student. And he brought me closer along with other brothers, and we kind of worked together as a team. All the way that happened, even when he was National Youth Director. And so those moments are really hard for me to forget. And I hope to be able to relive those moments, to make it happen again. I don't know if it will, but I think those were great examples in my life and great moments I really thank God for.
Yeah, I'm so particularly excited you mentioned about our late Reverend Tar Martin, which was a role model and a great mentor to many of us. I'm so excited to hear that he touched your life as well as he touched
Yes.
so many lives, including mine too. What a blessing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Global Speakers Advantage podcast. Today, our guest is our own Reverend Pastor Cosmos Lamwe, and he has been our former youth director in the Cameroon Baptist Convention. And today, he's doing so well, excelling in ministry in the United States as a founder, as a leader, and as a father and as a husband. And if you're watching this, let us know which part of the world you're watching this podcast from. Hey, Laura, welcome. Laura is my wife. That's so good to know that you're watching from Cameroon. Derek Mene, good evening. Thank you so much, Derek, for watching. Let us know which part of the world you're watching us from. Are you watching us from Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Singapore, United States, United Kingdom? Where are you watching us from? Let us know. And which platform are you watching us from? Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn? And so, Reverend, let's get deeper into the conversation, sir. Um, at what point did you begin to sense a transition in your life and ministry? Like, being the youth director of Cameroon Baptist Convention is a prestigious position that almost everybody would love to be there. You know what I mean? Like, even myself. but a lot of people love to preserve those positions with a lot of, passion, to serve in this position for quite some time. But that was not your case. You felt like, okay, probably God is calling me to the next level of ministry, to a different level, and then boom, you're like, okay, my time has come. I have to get to the next level. I have to exit right now. So, like, at what point did you begin to sense that transition from you director of the Cameroon Baptist Convention, maybe traveling to different countries to start a different life or a different vision right there?
Okay, let me start by saying I view leadership position as an opportunity to serve, and you can always serve uh, wherever you are. You don't need to be in one big position or whatever. So, um, becoming a youth director was never a goal for me. It was never something I prayed for or I had even desired to be. But it came upon me, and I understood God wanted me to be youth director at that particular time. He made it happen. And one thing I had in mind, and I remember I shared this, um, I always share this kind of everywhere I go, wherever I begin ministry. I know that um, night is coming when no one can work. Just like Jesus said, we should walk while it is day because night is coming when no one can walk. I believe that there is night and day in ministry. There's a time you you actually start ministry. There is a time when you have to end it in a particular location, in a particular setting. So that happens. And so when I became youth director by God's grace, which I really appreciate, and I thank God for that opportunity to serve, I came with a background that this is an opportunity to serve. It is not one achievement that I have had or something I should cling to. No, I understand that it is an opportunity to serve, and a time will come when I will have to leave, whether I like it or not. So, so I better like it. Now, at what point did I sense that I need to get ready for a transition? Let me put it this way. The work was very demanding for me. It was very heavy, and it had a toll on me on almost every aspect of my life. It was that kind of a job. And anyway, the way I did the job was one that it became very demanding on me. And if I if it were left to me, maybe I will leave on day two. But I knew that God is asking me to be here. God wants me to do this, and I have to do it to the best of my ability and the grace He has given me, because very soon a time will come when I will not be able to do it. So, so looking at conditions and everything, I would have just loved to leave really quickly. But one thing helped me go in the passion to do it, and the fact that God hasn't let me, given me that freedom to just step back. So I kept going. And I knew that the moment God says I have to go, then I have to go. So what happened is circumstances kept coming um, coming to a point where I really had to start understanding that maybe God is is bringing me to a point where I have to make the difficult decision because of all the circumstances that were just closing in. It was becoming very very clear, but I would not say fully clear yet. But everything was everything was happening, and um, it was that type that you will have to think again and say, is God wanting me to stay? And increasingly, it was becoming clearer and clearer and getting to a point where, yes, one of those, while everything was happening, there was this breaking point. There was this breaking point, and maybe we'll be able to talk about it. But there was this breaking point where we had one meeting, and I was going into this meeting and I'm saying, God, if you really want me to be here, then please make this thing happen. let things go in this way. But if what you are, if what I seem to be seeing is what is happening, then let things continue the way it is going. So I know I'm speaking in coded language, but we can get into that if you.
I love that. This is interesting. So Reverend, was the decision to leave as the to resign as the youth director, was it kind of a personal or a spiritual conviction from God that that was the time that you have to leave to continue with other ministries?
I won't say it was a conviction from God. Um, I would say it is. I would say God made it happen through circumstances.
Oh,
Yes, God made it happen through circumstances, and the biggest issue around it, there were many challenges around the work, but the biggest issue was the security challenges. There were really grave security challenges, which I know people refuse to admit. Some refuse to admit because of uh, maybe some consequences it can have on them. But there were very serious security challenges. And those security challenges just led to this point, led to a point where I could actually not do otherwise. Let me give an example. Living in my three in the mission compound there, and there were a lot were happening. There were many nights where gunmen will come and try to cause as much harm as possible. And some of these things, I really, I'm glad I'm even a little bit able to share right now, but it's something that is very traumatizing, and sometimes I don't want to talk about it. So, but I will go as far as I'm able to. Um, we had these challenges where government kept coming and coming time and time again, and you lived in Bamenda, you know what that means, and you know what could happen. So all of that was going on, and we have had the situations where the night watchmen will they will be kidnapped or taken from their duty post while they are there to protecting us, but they will be arrested, taken to the bushes, and tortured. And a lot was happening at that time, and everybody, let me not everybody, but most of the people in leadership, all the directors, they knew about it. We were always talking about it. They were always praying with us about it, and so on. But there was this day when one of those incidents happened, and we were so worried and so frightened, and people were praying for us. Even our friends in the US here, they mobilized prayers. I remember somebody would text me and tell me, just know at this time about 100 people are praying for you. They will pray for us for our safety. That kept happening, and our authorities knew about it. All the directors knew about it. Nobody can say he did not know or she did not know. They knew about it, and they were praying for us. And there was this particular one that when it happened, we were talking about it in the WhatsApp groups for the convention leadership, and then the EP said, the EP at the time, he said, we will have a retreat because we usually have a beginning of year retreat. So that was 2023. We will have a retreat, and the retreat will be in my 3. So our understanding is with this serious security situation on ground, the EP has professed that we have this retreat in Mile 3, where we live, where the thing actually happened, so that there can be an assessment of everything, and a decision will be made about what can be done for our safety. So we waited patiently for the day of the retreat, and we even had proposals of what we thought could be done. And on that day, the retreat held, and I think everyone was present. And the retreat was a great retreat where we had time on the Word of God. We had time to pray. We had time and everything. Then at the end of it, that retreat, it was now time for closing remarks. And closing remarks was done. Nothing about the security situation. Then one of the directors, that was not me, but another director, raised his hand and expressed his disappointment. He thought we are coming for this retreat to address this situation. And we are here, we are suffering in this situation. This is a situation, everybody knows about it. And he is so surprised that this retreat is coming to an end without any mention of the situation here. And the EP was very angry, very angry. And the way he responded was really, really, that was with a lot of anger. That day was a breaking point for me. I understood that I have to take responsibility for my own safety and my own security and my family. I understood that I cannot rely on the CBC, on the executive president, on anybody for my own safety and that of my family, because I realize they actually do not care, unfortunately. So that was a breaking point day for me, and I had to think and think really hard on what am I going to do. And I spent a lot of time talking with my chairman. My chairman was the person that knew the most of all what I was going through. I remember we went for 60th anniversary in Limbe, 60th anniversary of the youth department. While we were there organizing the 60th anniversary and running it, another incident was taking place back home. And to be honest with you, after the 60th anniversary in Limbe, I was not able to go back home. I was not able to go back home. I found an excuse to go leave from there, the rest of the team going back to Bamenda, and I went to Yaoundé for a few days, just trying to put myself together and muster the courage to go back home. So now, at the end of the day, I remember my chairman even said to me, he told me that you have just one life to live. And your safety and that of your family is your responsibility. He told me that any decision I make to be safe, because I explained everything to him, every decision I make to be safe, he is with me. Because he was asking me, what do I think I can do in this situation? I said, I don't know yet. I'm praying about it. I'm thinking. I said, if you have any advice for me, please give me. This is the situation. I was unable to go back home. So he just said, any decision I make, as long as it's for my safety, he is with me. Now, what surprised me most is that at the end of everything, the EP said he never knew about any security situation. He said he did not know. He wrote that on a letter. I was like, what? So, so it's not only him that knew about it. All the directors, everybody, every director is my witness that the EP knows about it. They know about it. Everybody knew about what was happening. They knew.
Okay.
Yes, they knew
Okay.
this, and they just choose to. In fact, I know the directors were quiet even when the EP said he did not know. I know they were quiet because they cannot say the EP is lying. And I don't blame any CBC Christian who believed what the EP said, because somebody of that status and caliber who came into office and he's preaching about truth, nobody would think he is lying. You see? So I don't blame any person who believed him. And it's okay if he is believed instead of anything else. Then even my chairman, who knew everything, I'm saying this, I've talked it over with my chairman. He's my good friend right now. So, but we have talked about this issue. Even my chairman, who knew all the details and knew everything, that was the highest person I had shared everything I could share with. When everything was going on and there was all the talking up and down, he actually joined them. He joined them. He never said, this is what he knows about it. I was waiting for him to say that. He never did that. But it's okay. I think it's always important. Everyone would like to be in the good books of the big people. So it's better. Sometimes you can hide the truth and claim to be ignorant or claim to be on some side just because you want to be in some good books. So that is fine. I don't have any issues with him right now because we talked about it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Reverend, for sharing that in-depth, conversation you had with the leaders. And I think what you did in terms of what to do to secure yourself and the family was very brilliant. And in leadership, every leader has a blind spot. No matter how good the leader you are, the leader is. I mean, you are our leader. You were our leader, and then you had blind spot. We leading other small groups, we have blind spot. The director, the executive president, they have blind spot. And in leadership, when you notice a blind spot, it's either you take a decision that favors you or you don't take a decision. And so people choose not to take a decision even when they see the blind spot. And I'm happy that you saw the blind spot and you took a decision, which is very good. Now, my question for you right now is, that was very brilliant for seeing that blind spot from the leader and then taking a decision, which was in favor of your family, which I really appreciate. What came to your mind in terms of the youth, the hundreds and thousands of youths that you were leading at the time, and they were looking up to you? How did you prepare your transition in such a way that it should be smooth, so that the young people that loved you so much, they still love you right now, and they were working with you and they were building a lot of systems with you? What did you do to transition them to a leader who could take care of them while you are exiting as the leader that they were all looking up to?
First of all, the way the CBC is structured and the way we function, I don't determine who comes after me. You don't determine who comes after you. The leaders and the body does it. So it was not my rule to do that. But there was something I could do. And what I could do, I started doing it from day one. And it is working with leaders, working with others, working with the youth leaders of the fields and the convention, working in such a way that everything we were doing was something we agreed about. It was something we agreed to do. We choose how we want to do it. We know where it was going to. So everybody in the team understood our focus. So I don't need to say that means in such a way that if I leave, when I leave, I'm able to say, okay, others are able to just continue from there because they understood whatever vision we had, they know it, they know the strategies we were using, they knew the goals for it, and so on. So for me, that is a transition. I didn't have the opportunity to say, okay, this is a handover note, or explaining these details or that one, even though I was always available to do it where in a setting that is possible, but I didn't have the opportunity to do the normal kind of handing over. I didn't do that, but I am glad that the way I had worked with all my leaders, there was nothing about that leadership that they actually did not know. So to me, that was transition from day one.
Thank you so much, Rev. I love that. And I love your transparency. I really appreciate that vulnerability and transparency aspect of your transition. And I think um like you being the head of the family, you are responsible for decision making, and you have to come up with an action plan, a blueprint of how you want to run your family. And definitely you have to decide how things should happen, which is very good, even as the head of the family. So let us know, what lessons did you learn, from your season of transition? What did the season of transition teach you in terms of leadership, obedience, and purpose?
Yes, I learned a lot of lessons at that time. One of the lessons I learned was the lesson of moving from theory to practical, of actually putting yourself, putting God, yourself, and your family first before the ministry. That is something we preach about. That is something we talk about. But our wives and our children, they actually know that most of the times we don't put them before the ministry. So that was a lesson I had to learn, and pushed by circumstances to say, now I rather, it's time to think more about my well-being and that of my family before the ministry, because the ministry can always go on even without us. So that was one lesson I learned. Another lesson I learned is what the Bible had already said: don't trust people. I'm not. I don't mean that you should not. I don't mean it in a negative way, but I mean in the sense that don't depend on people, because God is the only one who will never fail us. Every human will fail us at some point. You'll fail us. So when you depend on people, and you anchor your life and everything about you on people, they will fail you. I think I experienced that failure in a very serious way. I experienced the failure, and where I saw how people failed me. Maybe I failed others. I am human too. Yeah. But yes, that happened, and I really, really, that was a lesson for me. So since then, I I look at everyone, but I would rather trust God than trust people. Yeah.
I love that. You rather trust God than trust people. And I think that is how we're supposed to do. We trust God first before trusting people. And like human beings, they have their own weaknesses too. Like I love the fact that you say you're also human, so we all have our own personal
Yeah.
weaknesses.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and you also understand, Reverend, that most of the time we will be thinking that we're doing good while we're hurting people, even as leaders at times. And those things happen to the leaders that lead us, and then to us that lead other people. And that is that aspect of vulnerability is also very important. And the leader accepting that, hey, I actually do not do well here, and I'm sorry. And that's like the strength of a leader, and I love that you are actually demonstrating that all the time when I am having conversations with you. So let's get deeper, right? Like many people actually struggle with living spaces they once deeply loved. How did you navigate the emotional and the spiritual aspect of your transitioning? I worked with you in the CBC in the youth office, and we did amazing things. So I saw your passion a lot. Came up with ideas, innovations, projects, initiatives. Some got funded, and I think that was something like you invested not only your talent, your skills to that, but your life was actually invested into that work that you were given. And so, how did you navigate that transition emotionally and spiritually?
I would tell you that's one of the most difficult things I've had to face in my life.
Mm,
Because emotionally, it was really, really difficult for me. Not, not about leaving the work, because there's always work to do for God's glory, anywhere, anytime. There's always something to do. But my my real issue was not about the position or whatever. The real thing that was hard for me to manage was the response when I said, when it became the EP's ministry to go to every field and talk about me in a way that was really bad, talking about me. It's okay to say bad things about me if they are true, you see, but that will be okay. That humbles me. But when you say bad things about me and they are not true, it really hurts me. And you see, people believe them, and I don't blame people for believing them. But when you look at all of that, it was really hurting. My primary urge was going to be to respond. I wanted to respond because there was a lot to say. But maybe what happened is God did not allow me to respond. Honestly, God told me, be quiet. It's a very difficult thing to be quiet at a time like that. But God told me to be quiet. And I feel like God made it harder for me by saying I should be quiet. And God spoke to me about David. You remember David, who will, even though he had the possibility to do something that would hurt King Saul, he did not do it. He said he will not touch the Lord's anointed. He did not do it. That was what God was telling me, to be quiet. And I understood that um, I understood the primary reason was to not divide the church. I know the influence I had amongst the youths, and not only the youths. I knew what could happen to the CBC if I spoke, if I said something. It is going to discredit the leader in a very serious way. It is going to uh, it it had the potential to actually divide the church in to some extent. It had the potential of causing all the youths in the CBC, and they are in their tens of thousands, all the youths in the CBC to really lost trust in the leader. And if youth whom we are building, if they lost trust in the leader, then they can easily go astray. So it's better for them to still follow the leader and be against me than than to than to not have any leader to follow, and then maybe just get so mad at everything and maybe start distrusting the things of God. So looking at all of that, I said it's better for the church to stay together. And it's okay if I take all the blames and I'm the terrible person and whatever, that is okay, as long as it does not hurt God's church and does not hurt God's people. So that was the background, that was the understanding, and knowing that God is saying, be quiet. Truly speaking, what I was going to say at the time could be very dangerous. And God said, be quiet. And I was like, when do I say this thing? When do I respond? And it was like, it's none of your business. Just be quiet and do my prophet no harm. I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Then even looking at, there were other CBC leaders, key CBC leaders, like the CBC chairman. That is somebody who is actually my father. I consider him to be my father because he loves me and he cares for me like a father. There are times I've been very angry with him. Then later on, I realized it was just love. He has rebuked me. We have been in some very big meetings and I'm pressing on some issues and he rebuked me very sharply. I was so angry that why this thing is wrong. Why is he supporting these people when they are wrong instead of standing with me? He rebuked me very sharply. I later on realized he was just protecting me. Yes, he was protecting me. He never said anything to me about that. I even went to his house later on to blame him for being against me on something that I was right about. And he still maintained his stand. But I later on realized he just loved me and he was protecting me. He knew what he was protecting me for, which I had no idea. So he just had to shut me down and rebuke me very harshly. Now, he is my father. He was even accused for bringing in his son into the youth office as youth director. He was accused for that. Meanwhile, the reality is I knew him. He did not know me at all before that election. He did not know me. Now, so when all of these things happened, I did not talk to him because he was the CBC chairman. I knew if he has any idea of what is going on, he may support whatever I am doing, and it will attract more attacks on him as a chairman. He will feel like he did something with me. So I prefer to say, let my father be angry with me for not talking to him. That is better because I think I'm protecting him too. By not telling him anything, I guess I'm protecting him in my own way.
I love that. And Reverend, there's a saying that they said is, what an old man can see just sitting down, the young man can climb the tallest mountain in the world, will never see that. Now, I understand that leadership is at times very complex. The EP being a little bit trying to manage the complexity of managing the youth department in your absence, the anger, the frustration at times, they could come with a lot of decisions and some movements. But I want to clap for you that you were quiet. Listen, Reverend. So I was discussing with some very good friends in the CBC, some great leaders, and they were like, one thing I respect Reverend Cosmos for is his humility and his ability to stay calm in the midst of chaos, the midst of trials and temptations. Because if you could have spoken, that could have sparked a lot of fire that could have caused a lot to our prestigious Cameroon Baptist Convention. And personally, I applaud you that you listen to God, that you should not say anything. Because if you said something, it could have been like you're fighting with our EP, and that could have bring a lot of confusion even among the young people. And the fact that you stayed quiet, that was like, I was so happy that you did that. And despite the challenges the EP was going through, trying to manage complexity, chaos, that comes with a lot of pain and a little bit of frustration. And managing that in leadership is a little bit complex. And you know this as a leader also. And so I am appreciating the fact that you do not even want to be trying to counter react to whatever thing was said from the leadership, from the youth, and the thoughts everybody had about you. Everybody had his own kind of ideas and thinking, but you were calm. For me, that's where you won. You actually won. Not like there was a battle you were fighting with EP, but the fact that you won, I'm saying you won, was like you were so disciplined and calm and not talking about it. And that is one thing I appreciate about you, and I sincerely appreciate.
Let me just jump in to say, I thank God that happened. But to tell you the truth, it didn't happen naturally. It didn't happen naturally. The instinct would have been to just vibrate and
Yeah.
say the things that will cause a lot of harm. God said, be quiet. God said, be quiet. I'm only just thankful to God that he helped me to be quiet. All of that had a toll on my emotions, on my mental health, on my everything, even on my physical health. All of that affected me a lot. And I'm struggling with all of those things. But I'm grateful to God that I obeyed him, at least to the degree that I did. There are certainly other ways that maybe I did not really obey him or I did not do right. But I'm thankful to God that what happened, I was able to just stay and close my mouth and not write anything and not say anything. Because the evidences were there. There was WhatsApp messages. In fact, we sit in meetings. Do you know, even from the former EP, from Reverend Cham, who was the former EP before, we have been talking about the security situation, and every month that we had our staff meeting as directors, we talked about it, and we made sure we kept talking about it so that it's always in the minutes. The minutes are there. So it continued all the way to this EP, and then we kept talking about it. Then for somebody to get up one day and said he did not know about it was a shock. That then when I had to say he helped me to get a visa to come to the US, let me just say something really quickly.
Okay.
When in 2022, when I was invited by our friends and partners to come to the US for a program, I talked to the EP about it. And he said, you have my blessings. To his credit, he did not object it. He said, you have my blessings. Then I asked him, please, I don't have anything. I have no bank account. I have nothing. So how do I go to the embassy? If you write a letter, I asked him, if you write a letter, it will make my case stronger. The consulate will know that I'm not on my own. I'm coming for the CBC. And that letter was never given. It was never written. I even, at some point, I was worried when the date for the interview was getting close. And I told my wife, the EP has said nothing about this letter. He has not written any letter. And my wife told me, don't ask about it. Just pray. If God wants you to have the visa, you will have it.
Mm.
And so I went to the embassy, no letter from the CBC, no bank statement from anywhere, nothing. And God gave me the visa. So to hear later on and hear him say he wrote a letter that they should give me a visa and made me to get a visa was embarrassing for me. But I'm not saying he was against it. He was never against it. He told me I have his blessings, but he never wrote anything, unfortunately. He never wrote anything. So to hear things like that, and then God says, stay quiet. You see, it was not easy. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm glad I have the freedom to talk right now, and I know I'm not displeasing God by saying it.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you so much for coming to this platform to share this. So let's talk a little bit about your US trip, Reverend Cosmos. Now, many young people will interpret it as you came to the United States for ministry, and eventually that's what made you to resign because you had more opportunities in America, maybe, of course, and then you decided to resign and then live like the work of God for different people and all of that. Do you have any message to our young people, because the security situation has not even changed. It has not been better. I think it's getting worse even right now.
Mhm.
But the youths are still there, and they're also listening. Some will be listening after, some are listening right now. What message do you have to give to these young people that are still looking up to you, and you worked with them, taking them from a particular point to another point? What message do you have to give to them right now watching you about the thoughts and the talks and the conversations are about your transition? Some would say you came and you decided not to continue and you just had to resign and like fall bush. And what do you have to tell them about that, sir?
Well, um, people have everyone has a right to their opinions, and but God knows the truth. That's what I would say. God knows the truth, and I don't feel compelled to prove myself to anybody. I only feel compelled by God to prove myself to God, to let God know, okay, this is it. So they can think anything. The only thing I would say is, if it was my thought, if that was true, I wouldn't have even come back. If I tell you, you are here and you know, if I tell you how many people told me that time that I came here, even a director of the CBC, while I was here, he asked me, will you come back? I said, what kind of question is that? So when I went back, the first I went back the next day. I traveled to Bafoussam for a pastor's fellowship, and I sat with one of the directors, and he asked me, you went to the US and came back here? I said, why not? Okay, then if you know how many people asked me while I was here, do you want to stay? If you want to stay, just let me know. We know what we would do. I said, I cannot do that. Some of them were actually angry with me, and some did not talk with me for a while, because I said that I came here. Let me tell you, brother, maybe I was stupid, but I made sure, and God knows this, I made sure that that trip was for the CBC. I worked for the interest of the CBC. I had opportunities to do things for myself, and I did not do it. I said, I'm doing this. I came here for the CBC, and I'm going to promote the CBC. And it was not only the youth department, it was even other departments. We even got somebody who opted, because of that trip, opted to say, as soon as I resign, I'm a state registered nurse. As soon as I resign, as soon as I retire, I'm getting into the plane to go come work with the CBC as a nurse. I was youth director, but we were able to get a nurse to come work for the rest of her time. We were able to get people commit to support the health services by donating hospital materials. We did things like that. When I went back and when I gave that report in our meeting with other directors, one of the directors said, this is how these trips are supposed to be. You go out like a hunter and you get things for the interest of the convention. This is how it's supposed to be. He even said, if some of us knew that you were going, we would have supported the trip. All of this because when I came, I kept myself away from everything, and I tried to work for the interest of the convention. I did that, and God knows that. So if I really wanted to stay, I would have done things that helps me stay. But it's okay. Everyone has a right to his opinion, and
Yeah.
that is fine.
And Reverend Cosmos, I really appreciate you. I've been in those shoes. I remember the first time I came to United States in 2023, everybody was like, you can't go back to Cameroon, you have to stay. And I went back to Cameroon, some said I was very stupid. I'm like, okay, that's what you think, that's fine. But I mean, the fact that you came back to Cameroon on this trip really meant a lot to me, because I think that now the question I have for you, Reverend, is that when you're coming back to Cameroon, do you have plans to return back to United States despite the work you were doing with this Cameroon Baptist Convention?
Okay, this is a plan I had. I don't know if I've said this anywhere. I understand that we have people in the convention who are able to come here anytime because they have gone back and forth so many times.
Yeah.
That is the kind of person I wanted to be. I wanted to make, my plan was not that I'm going to come here and stay here. No. My plan was, I've had the opportunity to come once. I want to come again and again and again so that I am actually able to come anytime. So I will be one of those CBC leaders that have the opportunity to come here at any point representing the CBC and working for the youth. That is what I wanted to be. And I was on track working with the rest of the executive of the youth department to get to that point as well. But we knew that the starting point was not going to be coming to the US. It could be going to Europe or going somewhere. And that was already in plan. COVID came and disturbed that plan, disturbed the first trip, disturbed the second trip. And we were actually planning that. So it was not just something about me. My goal was to be able to get a number of youth leaders who have the possibilities, who have built the trust, have the possibility of traveling here frequently. So that will be a plus for the department. So was I planning to come back? Yes, I was planning to come back. Was I planning to come and stay? No, I was never planning that. But I wanted opportunities to be able to come many times and bring teams, just as our partners here were bringing teams back home. And that is what I was looking forward to.
Thank you, Rev. I love that. Because I know in those days, they were giving us 12 months visa for 12 months, 1 year, multiple entry, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I don't know whether they still do that today. So multiple entry means that you can go and come. Anytime you want to come, just pay your flight, come in because you have the visa for 1 year.
Yeah.
I see that. And that is so brilliant. That is so brilliant. And I love your vision you had for the department, and the fact that you did not just want to do things only for the youth department, but you're also thinking about the health, maybe the women and the men and all of that. And this is so interesting. And thank you for sharing. This makes a lot of sense to me. I'm also learning a lot. Even in this conversation we're having. I have my own thought too. So let's transition to what you're doing right now. Let's talk about the birth of a new vision. So, what inspired the birth of Seed of Hope organization, Rev? Is it like a strategy you want to finish the work you started in in Cameroon or in Africa?
Let me put it this way. Seed of Hope is a name given to a life. Seed of Hope is a name given to something that has been happening for maybe 20 years. Now, let me try to explain. When I got married in 2018, when I got married in 2008, not 2018, when I got married in 2008, my wife happened to be someone who was very, very generous. Nobody comes to the house and live without a small rapon of something. No, she was very generous. We didn't have anything much, but the little we had, she will always share it. She will always share. There were times I would even beg her, say, Mama, you see, we also need to eat in this house, you see. Yeah. She was doing her best to take care of the home, but she will always give, always giving. So that I would say I was a little bit generous, but not as much as she was. Then um, through her and through all of that, it just became our life, trying to share whatever we had with those we thought needed it. That went on, and that kind of got into the ministry that we were doing, because being who we are, it became a key part of our ministry. We served in Basosia as mission station manager, and she was the head teacher there. While there, the ministry was very successful. It's more than 10 years ago, and I still hear a lot of feedback from there. People are, yeah, other ministers of the gospel have come there. Many of them, sometimes multiple people doing what I was doing alone. And but you still see it is hard for anyone who is there to not recognize what we did there. It's not really because we don't want recognition. Actually, we are not seeking it, but there is a way it is just clear. Now, what happened there is that besides everything, one thing that I know God used so greatly was social ministry. We had very strong relationships with the DO, with the chiefs around, with the quarter heads, with the entire community. And part of it was because of what we were doing or facilitating to be done for the community. And so through that, we were able to actually bring the gospel really powerfully. And they were accepting the gospel because of the other things we were also bringing to them that they needed. So I'm just saying that lifestyle became a strategy in ministry. From there, when I became pastor of Salvation Baptist Church in Bamenda, we were using the same strategy in the way we could. We didn't have all the means, but we were always able to do something. We will have bags of rice and gari. So all those students, we say, if you really do not have what to eat, come get food from the church. And they were coming and getting, and they were happy. We're doing what we could do. We're printing. We had a printer, and we'll print projects for all the students, whether they're in Polytechnic or University of Bamenda. When you want to print your project, come, the church will print it for you for free, as long as you're a member of the church. Those were ministries we were doing. Some people brought their offerings in kind. I'm not against selling in church, but we choose to not sell. We said there is no reason to collect a cube of savon that somebody brought and sell it when there is another person in church that needs it. So we just had a committee that will evaluate what was brought. If it has to be written in the card, we'll write it and we'll put it in the records as income and expenditure. And that committee decides who needs it, who to hand it to in the church. So that was going on. All of those were social ministry things we were doing. And that was a big strategy. Coming to the youth office, we did the same thing. You know about YEP, the Youth Economic Empowerment Project. We did that, and we're able to be a blessing to about 2,000 youths during that time. Now, I am saying that is who we are as us, that we could not stop doing that. So it got mixed into our ministry. It became a ministry strategy for us. And then one of the things I remember, even while at my 3, I would tell my wife, if tomorrow anything happens in the CBC, if tomorrow we are not youth director, we are not pastor of any church, we are not working anything, what will be the ministry that we are doing? And we said, we'll just keep doing what we were doing before. You see, and what we do, we go to our farm, we harvest yams, we harvest cassava, we harvest plantain, we harvest whatever we have in the farm. We prepare a saksamoto, and then we'll visit a pastor. You know, one of those pastors that don't expect a visit. You know, there are some pastors, there are some people that expect visits. There are some that don't expect it. We visit those that don't expect any visit. We visit them and we say, we brought this from our farms for you, and we just want to encourage you for the work you are doing and pray for you. That's what we do as a family. So it's part of us. Then during the YIP, the crisis came and just inflamed the passion to do that because the need actually increased. So the crisis just made it more, showed the need. There is no way to stop being who we are because the crisis has exposed the need. So being here, like I said, all what happened affected me a lot health-wise in many ways. So, but God is helping me. I am recovering. I'm getting better every single day, and gotten to a point where I think I'm able to do something. Now, not like I'm starting. All this while we've been doing things. But at some point I thought maybe there may be people who may want to join hands with us to do it better than we are already doing. So maybe there is need to tell people that this is what we are doing and show them how they can be part of it. And the best way to do that is to just give a name to what you're doing. And so that is how Seed of Hope came about. So if you look carefully, you see that Seed of Hope started maybe 2 months ago. But that is actually something that has been going on for life. So it's not an ambition. It's just a life that is flowing. And we put a name to it just so that people can be able to know what they're talking about.
I love that. And one of the person I really want to appreciate here in this story and narrative is your precious wife, for the great job she has been doing with you, standing behind you, encouraging you, especially in those difficult moments. That was the best job any good wife can ever do to a husband at a time like that. And so tap her on the back tonight and say, we are proud of her and thank you for playing that role of a therapy, of a wife, of a mother, and someone who can always stand beside you, by you, to encourage you in difficult moments. It's a
Thank
great
you.
woman. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
So, despite given the continued need for the gospel and the youth mentorship back home in Cameroon, what give you peace about relocating to United States, and what are you doing right now to be able to mentor the young people even back at home?
Now that is a tricky one. It's a tricky one because I have a background. Let me give the background. In all the ministry God has helped us to do, we've done it with so much passion and to the best of our ability by God's grace.
Yeah.
And what has always happened is that the impact has always been lasting. It has always been lasting in a way that sometimes you see somebody after us, the person has had 2, 3 pastors, but there is a way they still keep looking up to us and looking up, and you see now, and that has created its own issues. Unfortunately, it has made churches we have left from there, and it has made others think that we left the church and we are still controlling members of the church, not knowing that we don't even have any communication. So one of the things I do, I remember in one of my send forth ceremony, I don't remember, I think it was the association pastor. He said, when you leave. Because he thought I will leave and still be influencing the members of the church, maybe against their current pastor or something. So I've never done that. I believe I've never done that. And I don't want to ever do that. Sometimes I deliberately, they want to they want to maintain those links. I deliberately cut off the links. Deliberately mute myself from most of them because I don't want that accusation. I don't like it. And I also know that it's not good. If somebody does that to me, I will not be happy.
Yeah.
So I prefer, if I will have any interaction, it must be through the pastor who is there. I left Basosia, for example, and the people there, they kept talking, and inviting me for all kinds of things, but I never went. And I never really wanted to do anything. But when the pastor invites me, I honor it because I know this is the person who has the right to bring me in. So now, coming to your question about what I am doing, it is in the same, with that background, I try to not do anything. Yes, I try to not do anything just because I want the work. I want people to, they have their leaders, they should look up to their leaders, not up to me. Because sometimes unintentionally, when you allow people to keep looking up to you after you've left, they become a little bit, they start having some disregard for their own leader. And that does not honor God. I don't want to do that. There were initiatives that I started, and while here, the youths are asking me, let's continue this, and it's true, those are things I can do. I can manage it from here. But I said, I did not do that as me, even though it was my initiative, but I did it using my office as youth director. So I can't carry that with me. It is a responsibility of the department to continue doing what if they think it is the right thing to do, they can continue with it. If they don't think it's the right thing to do, they can trash it. But I don't want to carry part of the department with me. So that is that part of it. So when you talk about mentorship, from that perspective, I will say I'm not doing anything. But to be honest with you, there is another aspect of it. With everything that happened, I will say from my heart, I have forgiven as much as I'm able to forgive. And I hope it is complete forgiveness. I hope there is nothing left. But sometimes you can never tell, you still feel somehow sometimes. So I think I've forgiven as much as I can. But to be honest with you, when there is something like, let's do this with CBC, pastors have contacted me, few pastors have talked to me, and leaders of different CBC organizations have reached out to me on different issues. And there is a way that my spirit is a little bit cool. I don't know how to say this, but it's a little bit cool. I feel like if people don't want you, if people have outrightly rejected you, it's good to respect their opinion and don't force yourself into things. So it makes me a little bit cool. I do things. There are things I'm doing, ministry I'm doing with individuals, but I presently I want to, and I'm actually working with a lot of individuals that I consider them friends. And so we work on the basis of our friendship. We work on that basis. I don't want to displease or hurt the CBC in any way. I don't want that. And
right,
even just even one thing, when I came here, finally, there were partnerships I had already built here, and I had friends here, and I know that the EP wrote to them, talking things about me. I was able to maintain those partnerships, and if I did, it would have been not for the CBC. But those were partnerships that were built in the context of CBC. It was not in the context of any personal ministry or any personal thing. So when I one thing I did, and the partners know, they may not know why, but they know that this happened. I cut off all my relationships with them. I just cut it off. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to maintain them as partners for CBC. I knew and I know how our people behave sometimes. If they hate me and they discover that somebody loves me, they will hate the person. So I saw that if I'm close to these people, it's going to affect the partnership they already have with the CBC. So I didn't want to didn't want to interfere. So I deliberately just cut off the relationship with them to just stay away, so they can exist with CBC normally. Yeah, and that happened, and I'm glad I'm not a reason why anything did not happen in the CBC. I love the church. That's the church that raised me, and I want everything good for the church here.
I love that. So, Reverend, you said when people reject you, you don't have any other thing to do with them. Do you think that, what do you actually mean by that, please?
Okay, I didn't really say it that way. If I did, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
I said, if people reject you, don't force yourself on them. That is really what I'm trying to say. Don't force yourself on them. Yes.
Like, do you think CBC loves you? Do you think, like, is it like the CBC rejected you, or
I feel that way.
Okay, what makes you feel that way?
Yes, I feel that way because as youth director, I'm responsible for everything in the youth department. And if I make an authoritative statement, I'm making it for the youth department. So if the executive president made the statements he made about me, I don't see it as being welcoming. In fact, when things were really tough and a lot happened, which some of those things I don't really want to talk about, but some things happened. And when I was in Yaoundé, before I even left, after all those things and all the security issues and all those things that happened, and I was in Yaoundé, the first message I got from the EP was, "Where are the keys of the house?" He later on deleted that message and wrote other things. But that was the very first message he wrote to me. Then I understood that I am not welcome. At that point, I was figuring out, and I was actually talking with my chairman. I don't think I'm able to live in Bamenda. I don't think this is the circumstances in which all these things are happening. So how do I go about working? I was still thinking about all of these things. I'm thinking, and then the message I got was, "Where are the keys of the house?" So that alone made me, I did not feel welcome. I understood that I am not welcome. So then after that, other things were going on, and other things were happening, and other things were said. So I actually understand if the leader of the convention said the things he said about me, not privately, but in public, and plus the ones he said to me privately, I don't think I am welcome. Yeah, I don't think somebody said you had a problem with somebody, not the convention. I said that you can't really separate it. I don't think I'm welcome. So, and for me, I don't want to force myself. I'm open. I can work with anybody. I try to not have any grudges. but I will not force myself. Yeah,
I love
because
that.
Jesus says the field is white.
Hmm.
It's white,
Yeah.
and there are souls everywhere. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I love that. So Reverend, so the mission that even brought you to United States, you came and saved self and come back. At least, um, apart from the fact that the leader did not give you a recommendation letter or uh, bank statement that you needed, what way did the church help you or the youth department help you in your trip, sir?
um, okay, those that invite the partners that invited me covered for my trip, and these partners are partners with the CBC. So even though they are the ones that covered for the trip, um, I did not see it as they are doing it for me. I saw that they are doing it for the youth department and and indirectly for the convention. Okay, but the department or the convention directly, what the convention did not, other than giving me a letter, there was nothing much they really needed to do. To be fair, there was nothing much they needed to do. Yeah, I know there were also some allowances they gave me, which covered for some lodging that I lodged in before, while I was still on transit. I lodged in New York, and they covered for that. I was due by an Uber driver. They covered for that. So, yeah, my first time using Uber in New York. It was actually my first time using Uber ever. That was in New York. I was duped and $200, and they covered for it. So I would say I expected those letters, which I did not get, but I had the moral support and all the other support that. So I actually felt that um, it was not the whole convention that had to give me a letter. It was one person. He did not give it for whatever reason, but God gave me the visa anyway. And so, but any other thing that they needed to do was done. It was the youth vehicle that I used to go to the airport and things like that, or was picked up from the airport, all of that. So it was official. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so at least the church played a role
Yes.
in the
Played a
trip.
role.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. All right, so this is becoming very interesting, and we will just have a short 30 seconds break, and then we'll be right back so we can continue with the conversation. Some people
All
are
right.
really loving it, so we are going, and some people are just there watching. So let us know. Don't be quiet. Like, let us know where you're watching. And so we just enjoy this 30 seconds short break, and then we're going to be right back. So when you want to create rapport as a speaker, you must maintain eye contact. Because when you're talking to someone who doesn't look at you directly in the eyes, like the person is not sure what he's saying. And most of the time, when you're not sure what you're saying, you're lying. So eye contact, very, very important. When there's eye contact, there's rapport. When there's rapport, there's bonding. When there's bonding, there's connection. When there's connection, there's transmission of information. So eye contact is very important. As a speaker, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as an executive, maintain eye contact with the people you're talking to there. That's very important. All right, welcome everybody. This is the Global Speakers Advantage podcast, and we are here with the one and only Reverend Cosmos Ramwa, and our former Director of Youth, Cameroon Baptist Convention Youth and Student Department, and the founder and the CEO of Seat of Hope. So the conversation continues. Let's talk a little bit about leadership, ministry, and relationships. Reverend, what are some of the challenges ministers like you face when working closely with fellow pastors and leaders? I know you talked a couple of them, but let's be a little bit explicit here. Pastors are watching, pastors are going to watch, and they also want to learn from your experience. What are the pitfalls they need to avoid? How can they navigate these terrains with wisdom and knowledge, not to cause chaos? Because your silence spoke volume of who you are and what you were able to say, and that was really brilliant. And the kind of fire that could have sparked. We did not have that at the end of the day somehow because you were silent, and that was a lot of wisdom. And also thank God for your mentors and coaches. So share with us. Let's talk about pastoring. Like, what are some of the challenges that ministers like you go through working with their peers at the same time working with the leaders?
Okay. There is this say that I've always been against because I don't like it. Not that it's not necessarily true, but it's just that I don't like it. They say the pastor's problem is the pastor. That is a common say in the CBC amongst Christians. I've had the opportunity to work with many pastors. I've worked with pastors. I've been associate pastor for years. I've served as associate pastor. I've served as missionaries, working with other pastors. Then I've served as a youth director, working with many pastors. I've had the opportunity to have pastors as members of my church. And so I have a little bit to say on this question. I've had both nice experiences and some very difficult ones. For the nice one, I can call names because they are good ones, but for the other ones, I will not. You know, I was pastor of Salvation Baptist Church in my six. And one of the pastors who was a member of my church was Reverend Bonko. Reverend Bonko, when he came and finally made a decision to be worshiping with us, it was a surprise because we know the caliber of person that he is. We know he was just coming in from, he was a provost of the seminary, and he was teaching preaching. So he knows administration, he knows preaching, and he's a very serious exegist. He's very good when it comes to interpreting the Bible and so on. So when he became a member of the church, just his personality is a little bit threatening. So I had to just speak to myself. And I said, every pastor needs a pastor. And if he has gone round churches and choose to worship with his family here, it is an opportunity. I have also heard people say a lot of things about him, both positive and negative. So I said to myself, if anything of what they said about him is true, then he is in the right place. And it is therefore my duty to help him with those things. So that removed every complex that I could have. And I actually spent time preaching and knowing that he too can be blessed, despite the fact that he is a great person. So, and I think he was, because I've heard him say things that convinces me that being there was a blessing to his family. But now, the main point I'm saying is he was very, very supportive. Very supportive. Far more than I ever thought was possible. He was very supportive to me. It is through him that I knew that October, I think it's October, is Pastor's Care Month. It was through him, because every October, he will bring an envelope and tell me, this month they are praying for their pastor, and he will bring that and give me an envelope, He will give me an envelope and pray with me, always very supportive. He knew those moments. He was not a leader in the church officially, but the church understood that he is a leader. And the church knew that he has the right to be anywhere in this church and to do anything. So there were some of those meetings that we are having with leaders, and sometimes when he suspects that this will be a very difficult meeting for me, I just find him sitting there. He will just be part of the meeting. And as everything is going on, he will make a statement, he will make a contribution, and he was always very, very supportive. I can say that he was very supportive. He will pray for us, he will support, he will advise, he was very supportive. His family was great. And I really appreciate that. There have been others also who have been very supportive, which I cannot mention everyone. But we've had some, unfortunately, that were not very supportive. Is it that everybody must support me? No. But even if you will not support me, don't make things hard for me. You see, just stay. Don't make things more difficult. So I've had colleagues who have sometimes intentionally made things very difficult. We've had situations where you have colleagues who are members of your church and they are trying to give an impression to the church that they are better than you. We've had circumstances like that. We've had situations where colleagues will go to Christians from behind and try to instigate something or try to prove to them that you were wrong. And all those things have happened. Now, what do you do in such a situation? I think even in that situation, I am their pastor, and they are just exposing to me what their weaknesses are and how areas where I need to help them. Unfortunately, it is a little more difficult to help. Yeah, because they don't see you like someone who can help them for the most part. So yes, so those ones, they are not, it's a little hard to help. I remember I had a conversation with one, and we're talking about tithing. And he was saying, I just give my tithes somewhere. I said, please, what about the card? Can we just fill it, register it? He said, no, when I have my tithes, I just give it to some man of God somewhere. And I said, okay, it is my duty as a pastor of this church to make sure that my Christians are growing in the faith and growing also in the area of giving. How am I going to know if I need to encourage you if I don't know what is happening? That was coming from the aspect that writing it in the card, his argument was that it's not biblical. I say it's just accountability. If you give, let's say you give your tithes to me, through me, you give your tithe to church through me, and it is not recorded anywhere, how do you hold me accountable to make sure it was rightly channeled? How does the church hold two of us accountable? There is need for recording. Even if you don't need the record, we need it. But he was totally against that. And we had a little bit of debate on that. Then at the end, I said, okay, let us conclude that before God, I will perform my duties as a pastor, as your pastor, in every aspect except giving. When it comes to giving, I am not answering to God anything concerning you and your family. And he said, yes, we agreed on that. Then, not too long after that, he left the church, not because of any problem. He just moved to another side of town and joined another church. And then, not too long later on, he became the pastor of one of the churches. Then he invited me for Lord's Supper, to come officiate Lord's Supper for him. And I went there. So one thing that really surprised me is I saw him, in fact, it was his wife, running around with cards, with tithes in it, and making sure people's cards, that I sign those cards, and people give. And I'm like, okay, were you against this thing just because you were a Christian in another church, and now that you are a pastor in your own church, you are now implementing it? Where do you, that's what was going through my mind. So yes, sometimes those relationships are hard, but you just do what you can do in good faith.
I love that. That is, yeah, it does a lot of complexity there to handle in ministry, and like in every other work, there's always going to be some people that are hard to be understood, and they will always like to bring some confusion in the midst of organization, in the midst of structures, in the midst of a system that will always try to contradict what has been built and trying to propagate. And Reverend, I'm also very curious. How do you personally handle misunderstanding, criticisms, and disagreement within ministry? How do you do that?
Well, personally, what I do is I try to understand I try to understand the other person. It, if it is positive criticism, that is easy because you see somebody correcting you in good faith.
Yeah.
So that is easy. If you have an explanation, you give. If you don't have an explanation, you learn from the person. So that one is, I would say, is easy. But when it comes to criticism that is negative, and that happens a lot, I've had that because I had to work with many youth pastors, both association youth pastors, church youth pastors, and field youth pastors. I work with many of them, and there were many of them who felt that, and some of them were right, they felt that they were more competent than me. And truly speaking, I don't think I was the most competent person or youth pastor. I don't think so. There were some that had qualities I truly did not have. And I remember one asked me about something, and asked me a question that, was that ignorance or incompetence? This thing you did, was it ignorance or incompetence? I said, I think it's both.
I love your vulnerability. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I said, I think it's both ignorance and incompetence, but this is why I did it. So I explained what happened, and he had nothing to say. So there are some who felt more competent, and some they truly are more competent. And when they express it directly or indirectly, I like to know that I'm not the best person in the world. I'm not the most competent in anything. I only do well because I depend on God. I depend on God. In fact, yes, I depend on God. I try to let God lead. I just follow. And when you do that successfully, when you are able to successfully let God lead while you follow, God does things and people think you are the one. People think you are so intelligent. People think you are so organized. People think you are so this and that. But I look at myself And I know my wife knows that I'm none of those things. You see, but it's just because you have one ability, which is letting God lead, and you just follow.
I love that.
Yeah. So what happens in those kind of situations? I try to learn, and where I cannot learn, where there's nothing to learn, in some cases there's really nothing to learn. In such cases, there's just criticism. I try to just stay and do what I'm doing. There are times where I get very discouraged, and sometimes, um, yes, very discouraged. There are those moments. But again, I just try to do what I'm able to do, and trusting God for strength to keep going.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. So uh, you've answered this question already. Like I was like, how do you manage your down moments when, as a leader, in such moment? I think you've talked a lot about how to manage down moments, like staying quiet and silent and praying. And do you have anything to add to that? There are pastors watching now, or maybe watching after. They're currently going through down moments. So do you have any tip to them, even as we're rounding up this conversation?
There are lots of down moments in ministry, honestly, and I face a lot of them. Uh, One way to manage them will be to talk to somebody who can be of encouragement. It could be your spouse, it could be another colleague, it could be any person. So, the any person who can lift up your spirit, there are always those people. If you look around very well, you see amongst your circle, there will be those people you can really talk to. My, um, my wife knows some of those people in my life, and she told me there are very few people that when you talk with them, you laugh at the top of your voice. So he said there are not many of those people, and I really value those people in my life. And those are the people you go and you're truly vulnerable. You say, "This is what this person is saying or doing. This is how I feel about it." And sometimes those people they'll just say, "Don't bother about it." Just that one statement may mean the whole world to you. So find somebody that can be an encourager to you. Another thing to do is just look up to God and look back. That's one thing that has really been of great help to me. Just look back. Look at how God has been working with you. Because those kind of moments usually feel so dark. It feels so dark. It feels like you are lost. And those some people will make you really feel that way. So one thing you do is I just look back. I look at how my walk with God has been, how God has helped me through different situations, and I'd say it is not this one that God will not do the same thing He has been doing. That usually encourages.
That's so great. And there's a lot of value in this conversation that a lot of people will be taking home. I love the fact that the people you discuss with them and you laugh the most, these are very few. She's full of wisdom. I love that woman. So you're a family man, Reverend. You're a minister. How do you balance ministry with the family life?
Now, I won't pretend that I have been balancing it and it's so balanced. You see, if you ask my wife, you will know the truth. You may think that I've been very balanced in it so far, but my wife is the only one who knows how imbalanced it has been. But she has also played a very significant role in helping me because each time she calls my attention to it, I will make some adjustment. It may not be perfect adjustment, but I'll make some adjustment. Sometimes the ministry demands and the ministry setting, especially in the CBC, and first of all in the youth department. In the church, it was much better, but in the youth office, it was really different because there was more to do. So, how did I balance it? I just admitted that it is supposed to be balanced. And I tried as much as I could to balance it by staying home when it's possible. And somebody advised me, don't take your laptop home. And that was because I was already sick, not even because of the balancing issue, but I was already sick because I work in the office. Then the whole night I am doing something and trying to finish something, and then go back to work the next day. So that was taking family time. So recognizing that is one step. Then making adjustment and obeying your wife when she complains about it was another step that was also very helpful. Where it was possible, we will do things together, go together to places and do things just as a way to catch up. Right now, I am doing the same thing, but it is in another way because I am right here now. My family is not here with me. And I think that is also one of the things a lot of people said, oh, he traveled with his family and so on. I will never choose, I will never choose this a life. I will never happily and willfully choose a life where I have to live somewhere else for 3 years without my family. I'll never do that. I I am in this situation because of it was just the conditions that made it happen, and I don't have a choice. So right now, I am doing ministry, and my family is 8 hours and tens of thousands of miles away from me, and and we I still have to balance it. It's more challenging here, but again, it is something we must do because the family actually comes before the ministry, and when the family is healthy, the ministry is healthy. So I try to do that. Try to create time to talk, and when it's impossible to create time, sometimes it's really impossible to create time, I have to just take time and explain to my wife that this is the program I have and this is how difficult it is for me. We can only have good time talking as from this time. So then we also look at I now go to bed really late because I have to wait for her to get up in the morning. We talk, and while she goes on with the day, I go to bed. When I'm getting up from bed, she's coming back in the evening. We talk, and then I'm going about my day. She's going to bed. We are trying to arrange our programs. We are trying to do that. Then creating time for the kids too is also another one, especially when you have children that are teenagers. They need you more, and there are things they want to talk with me, and I want to things I want to talk with them. We just want to have time. So I try to create that time for them. I'm not perfect at it. um, I'm really trying. It's not very easy. You know how life is in this country. It's a kind of 24 hours uh, thing, and while doing all of that, creating time to have quality time with the family is not an easy thing, but it's something that should be a priority. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Greg, for sharing that. Somebody says that overachievers or superachievers, they never have a balanced life. I mean, some schools of thought argue that there's nothing like balanced life. That if you want to live a balanced life, you might not achieve anything worthy in this life. But some people argue against that. But I really love how you put your thoughts and ideas that we have to do our best
Yes,
to strive to live a balanced life. The least
exactly.
opportunity we have to spend with the family, let's go and do that. We should
Mhm.
not just try to go one direction without trying to make effort to balance. I just love that, Reverend. Now, I wanted to talk to young people even as we're rounding up this conversation. What advice will you give to young ministers or youth leaders currently serving in demanding church environments?
I would say, first of all, to the youths and the youth leaders and young ministers that I know and they know me, and we truly love each other. Um, I would say what happened happened. It wasn't my choice. It wasn't theirs. I don't have any problem with them. In fact, I I actually miss them. But the consolation I have is that from day one, I work knowing that this work will not last forever. So I put in every single day. I work like it is my last day. You see, so that is the peace I have. I don't have any regrets, but truly speaking, they were amazing. That was a great group of people to work with. Um, so ministers and youth leaders working in challenging environment, I would say be faithful. I would say be faithful. Just serve faithfully and don't serve to please any man. Just serve to please God and serve faithfully. By faithfully, I mean know what God wants you to do and do it to the best of your ability. When it is time and God wants to let you do something else, he will make it possible for you to do something else. If he gives you a longer time to do what you are doing, that is also great. Just do it and be faithful at what you are doing. Because our reward, truly speaking, will never come from fellow human beings. Our reward comes from God. Whether it's reward in this life or reward in eternity, that reward comes from God. It will never come from anybody. So trying to working to please people or working to or doing things to gain the applause of people is actually useless. It's completely useless. Just be faithful to God. Do what God wants you to do and do it to the best of your ability. And the Bible says, if you are faithful with little things, he will put you in charge of greater things. So by being faithful with the little that God is asking you to do, you give God a reason to expand what you are doing, and God will do it.
I love that. So, Rev, in your opinion, what are some important things church systems can improve to better support ministers and young leaders in the future? Not necessarily CBC, it could be any other church around the world. How can they do to support ministers in the future?
I think church systems should be very intentional in leaders. Building leaders. They should be very intentional about it. Um, we come from the CBC, and which is a great church, but I think one thing that is either lacking or very weak in the CBC is intentional building. When you see those who have grown in the CBC, it was through their own personal efforts that they grew. It was not, there is no strategy in place to grow people. I think that in my own judgment, I think we can learn from the health board how to develop people. It's not perfect there, but there is some intentionality there to developing people and developing leaders. You see, they deliberately organize trainings to build certain capacities amongst the leaders, and they build that chain. I think the health board is taking some steps in that. But I would say that every church system should be very deliberate in building leaders. That is that's like administration, building leaders. But again, when you come, it comes down to discipleship, because from the level of individual Christians, the churches, we can, if we are deliberately discipling um, the leaders, especially the young ones we have, not trying to push them down and hinder them, uh, that that will be very helpful. In the CBC, you see a situation where youth leaders actually struggle to be youth leaders because they are being actually attacked for being youth leaders. Yeah. You see, so what are you doing among those children? What are you doing there? Just this and that. And they're trying to get them out from the youth group. They don't want them to lead there. They just want them to come and sit in the men's group or in the women's group or something else. They feel like, I think we should be very deliberate in raising our leaders. And yes, very deliberate in that. At the level of the churches, discipleship, at all levels, discipleship actually, raising leaders.
Thank you, sir. So, what legacy do you hope your life and ministry will leave behind?
This may sound very different, but that is just me. I know there are legacies, but that is not something I'm interested in. I am really not interested in being remembered for something because I feel that it is useless. The main thing I want to do is I want Jesus Christ to be known. I want Jesus to be remembered. I want that people, through me, people should think about Christ instead of thinking about me. That has been my passion. And like John the Baptist would say, that may I decrease and may he increase. So I would not want to be known. I want Christ to be known. And if he can be known through me, I will be very, very grateful for that. So that is my point of view. And it inspired a lot of things and my own way of doing many things. If you notice, as far as I know, this podcast is the one only program I've ever had where I willfully allowed my picture to be put on the flyer. This is the only one. I don't even know why, but this is the only one that I know about. As youth director, I could do that every day, but I said I'm never going to put my picture in any flyer because it's not me that I want to talk about. It's not me that I want people to know and think about. I want to point people to Christ. So I don't want to obscure people's view of Christ. I don't want to put myself in between. So, so do I want to be remembered? I will wish that Christ is remembered. I will wish that I am a reason why Christ is remembered. I know there are some things I am remembered for. Okay, which we can say they are legacy. There are some things here and there. But the way I look at those things is it doesn't mean so much to me. Because let's say 1 million people are thinking very nicely about me and thinking so good about me. And so what? You see what I mean? What does that do to me? I don't know how that benefits me. I don't think it benefits me in any way. The only thing it can do, if everybody thinks so nicely about me and they are praising me, it can only help to steal the blessings that God would have blessed me for whatever I did. Because God says when we do anything, we should not do it for the applause of men. Let's do it for God. Let's do it for God. So if I do it because I want to leave a legacy, I want people to think about me, then people clap for me, then I raise my shoulder, I say, yes, I did this. You know, they have succeeded to steal my blessings from God. I would rather nobody thinks about me, and if they must think something, they should even think something bad about me. I will prefer that as long as it preserves my blessing. I will want God to think about me. I want God to be able to say, well done, good and faithful servant. If God will say, I left a legacy, that is meaningful to me. But if it is what people would think about me, that really does not matter, because it will not help me. All the other people we know great leaders who have left great legacies. They did great things. And they started this one, they did that, and we think so greatly. And so what? Did that help them in any way? I mean, those particular leaders, it did not help that leader in any way. People, when I see them like great leaders and I praise them, I'm the one benefiting because I'm learning from them. So, but it does not benefit the person. So my point is, I'm not really interested in what I'm remembered for. I want God to remember me. Yes, I want to do something tangible for God and let my life praise Him. But one of the things that bothers me, I mean, thinking about what people will be thinking, what legacy kind of a thing, that is not one of my problems.
I love that, and that's a good perspective, right? I love that, and that is really fine. There are some people that don't see life from the point of view of legacy, impact, this and that, and which is a good school of thought. Also, like, it helps you also to focus on what God asks you to do, and you're just doing it. You don't care who is saying what or who is not saying what. And I really love that, right? And that's you who said that, and that's really totally fine by me or any other person. Let's look at this. Finally, what message would you like to leave with young people listening to this podcast across Africa and diaspora right now?
My message to every young person is, we have one life to live, and the life is quite short. It's very short. I say it's short because you may be 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 15 or whatever. Look at it from how the percentage of your life that you've lived already. We don't know when our lives on earth will end. We don't know it yet. But if life expectancy in Cameroon, I think, is 65 for men. Yes, about let's say 70. Let's say it's going to be at 70. Look at your age and look at how much time you still have. Look at it from the perspective of, you may think that 20 years is much. Look at it from the perspective of, what percentage of my life have I lived already? Then you say, this percentage that I've lived, how did I live it? Was it a well-used life that achieved a lot, or it is a wasted 50% of my life? Then you come back to say, the remaining percentage that we think we have, we actually do not have it. We only have now. And tomorrow is not certain. God decides if we have another day or not. So God may just give us another day, and if He gives us one more day, we thank Him. If He gives us one more year, we thank Him for that, and that it goes that way. So think about it in that direction and live your life one day at a time. Live your life fully for God, because very soon you will not be able, even if you are alive, you may still not be able to do the things. You may not be able to run up and down because your back is hurting, because they say your BP is doing something or something. The Bible is clear. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come, in that context, the evil days is actually old age. When those old age comes, when you will no longer have pleasure, certain things you would have done with joy, you no longer have. You are doing it now like it's a force because you don't have pleasure in doing it. So there are certain things in the past we could just go to the street and dance and people gather. That's why we used to do evangelism in Bamunka, we do it in Mubo, we do it in Bangolan, in Bambalang, Bamali. You just go to the junction and start dancing and playing some drums and some instruments, and people gather. Then we have one brother who is ready to preach. You see, we do that, and it was a joy. But at a certain age, you don't just hear the idea and you jump into it. You start calculating consequences. You start calculating a lot of things and thinking whether you are even healthy to do that. So my encouragement to everybody who is young is tomorrow you'll be older than you are today. And so use today wisely in a way that tomorrow you will not regret how you live today.
I love that. Reverend, which is your favorite scripture in the Bible, buddy?
I have a lot of favorite scriptures, and also it depends on the season.
Oh.
It depends. Yes, it depends on the season. Some seasons I will have a certain scripture that address that situation, and other seasons I will have other scriptures.
This season right now.
This season in my life has been a very long season. It has been a very long season, a season that has spanned maybe 4 years or so, this particular season. And my favorite verse is Psalms 23, because it gives me assurance of all the uncertainties around me. It gives me assurance, and I know that even though I walk through the valleys and the shadows of death, I will fear no evil because the Lord is with me. And both his rod and his staff, they comfort me. So yes, Psalms 23 is my verse. This is my passage this season. It's 6 verses. So all of that is my.
I love that. Which is your favorite chapter or book in the Bible? Let me say book in the Bible.
Again, it happens from season to season. Yes. Each season has its own. Yeah. So this season, my favorite book in the Bible is the book of Nehemiah.
I love that.
Yes, Nehemiah, you know what he went through in rebuilding and with all the challenges, and very few people willing to stand with him, but he kept going and he was passionate to build the walls of Jerusalem. So
okay. Which is the most beautiful place you've ever traveled to, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Iconic.
In terms of beauty like the geography,
geography. Yeah.
Yeah. Geography. Like the geography, I would say I recently posted on this thing about Giant Springs. Giant Springs is just here in Great Falls. It's 15 minutes from where I live, and it's a beautiful place. You go there, especially in the summer like this. You see water oozing from the ground. You see the shortest river. You see getting into a big river, and the hills around it is just so beautiful. It is so beautiful. So I took pictures from there and I decided to post it. But
that's wonderful.
Beautiful place in terms of city. Mm-hmm. I would say Los Angeles. When I went when I went there, in fact, from the airport and all of that, it was just like is somewhere else. So, and when I see some of those beautiful places and all the infrastructures and how wonderful they look, I just think of, I say, all of this is still nothing compared to heaven. You see, I feel like, okay, if even if heaven was like this, I'll be okay with it, you see. But but this is still nothing compared to heaven. So yeah, that is a very beautiful place I've been to.
Pastor Nehemiah Monteka, our pastor from Faith Baptist Airport, says, I expected the book of Nehemiah. Okay. Yay, Nehemiah is winning. Best advice we ever received from anybody.
Wow. It was an advice that was a very shocking advice from me. And I'll say who I received it from. I received it from somebody that is called Man of Wisdom. And Evangelist Kuala Rene will know him very well. He calls him Man of Wisdom.
Coach Kuala Rene.
He says that is a man who said, it takes wisdom to behave like a fool. Yeah. So now this person is Reverend Ba Emmanuel. He's a former pastor of Magbafi.
Okay.
He gave me a surprising advice. You will be surprised that I did not know. You see. So I talked with him one time because I was facing quite some challenges in the office. And I was in this situation where I am doing everything I can do for others. I will, whether be it staff, be it ESCO members, be it leaders, everything I knew and I had the opportunity to do that benefits them, I would do. I was doing it. Then silently, as a pastor, there were things I expected people to do for me, and they were not doing it. They appear like they're not even thinking about it. I was like, I'm expecting this. I don't want to talk about it, but there are things I just expect. There's a level of care and concern that I was expecting. They were doing great. Most of the time they were doing great, but there were some that I would say, some things I was expecting them to do, which they were not doing. And I was beginning to feel I had to bear it for some time. Then it started hurting me. So I decided to just talk to him. I told him that this is what is going on.
I love that.
I expect more care, but I'm not getting it. But I'm doing my best to care for everybody.
What did he say?
He said, your job is to care for everybody. He said, your job is to take care of everybody. He braked for maybe 3 seconds. Then he said, you are part of everybody. So he said, when taking care of people, don't forget yourself.
Wow.
That opened my eyes. It was like, is this how stupid I was that I didn't know this? Yeah. So I've received lots of advice, but that one I always remember it. Yeah.
My last short one is, what is the best sermon you ever received preached by a human being?
Best will be in terms of what the sermon did to me, not in terms of
eloquence and all of that.
Yes, not in terms of following the rules of preaching and everything, um, but in terms of how much impact it had in my life. Um, that sermon was preached in Nigeria, and it was preached by Billy Akani. That is somebody whose books, his tapes, and I've had the opportunity to be part of his discipleship training. It has it yes, it made a great impact in my life. So I would say um, God used his sermons really greatly to affect my life. Yes.
Thank you so much, Reverend Cosmos Ramura, for sitting with me for 2 hours, 17 minutes, 60 seconds, 2 hours, 80 minutes. That means a lot to the people listening, to the youth, to the leaders, to myself, maybe to you, and that really
Of
means
course.
a lot. And we're grateful. I'm happy that people watching and they're gonna watch and learn quite a lot. At this point, I want to ask: do you have some people you want to greet them, even as we close the curtains of this conversation, sir?
Uh, I'm not able to see everyone who is watching from my end, but I want to greet everyone who is watching and thank you for taking time to 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 be online to follow this discussion. My prayer is that what we share, what we've shared, be it should it should be meaningful to you and it should help you in your own life and your walk with God. Um, I had planned that I would just speak from my heart, not from something I prepared, because I think uh, one way to reach a heart is to speak from the heart. Yeah. So that is that is my hope and my prayer that everyone listening should actually be blessed. I also want to to say hi to Dr. Reverend. Um, let me say, I don't know if I should say his name, but I want to say hi to everyone who is listening, and even those who are. Somebody said he will be in the silent listening committee. So, so I want to greet all those in the silent listening committee, all the pastors who are here listening. You take time to listen to this. I hope this is helpful to you. I want to greet everybody, and say thank you for listening. God bless you.
Amen. And I want to thank you, Reverend, for creating time for this one-on-one conversation, and thank you for deciding to come and share with us here, and to thank sacrificing your time and all of that put together. Thank you so much, sir, uh, for showing up. And we pray that God will continue to use you mightily, even as you champion the Seat of Hope organization in Africa and to reach more people for the glory of God. I love the fact that you do things for the glory of God. And yeah, thank you to everybody who watched. I think the first comment came from Laura, my wife. Thank you, watching from Cameroon. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Isaac Gonkum. Great journalist. He watched almost throughout. Lot of comments. Thank you, Gabriel. Gangua watching from Idina. I don't know. Idina should be somewhere in Cameroon. Um,
Southwest.
Southwest. Beautiful. Thank you so much. To Victor, Momo, Junior. Great conversation. Thank you, Franklin. Powerful sharing. Thank you so much, Dixon, Atania, from one country in Africa, I think is Tanzania, for watching. Thank you for these conversations. Thank you, John Mercy. Epchoya Mercy Tete is watching. Thank you so much, Epchoya. We appreciate the fact that you are here watching. Dosak Emmanuel, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Shom and Reverend Gamora. Young Sandra, thank you. Wow, blessed seem to me here Psalms 23, favorite book of the Bible, Nehemiah, expecting the book of Nehemiah. Okay, thank you, Reverend Nehemiah Moteke, our pastor. That was my pastor in Faith Airport, Douala. Thank you so much, sir, Daddy, for watching. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Quinton, Jomina. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to the CBC leaders. And I love what they're doing. The TV CBC is having a TV they're building right now. Great job. Dr. Woloko is championing something very powerful. Reverend Dr. Paul Mokake is also doing so well with the evangelism and mission department. The current EP, they are doing amazing things, and we want to appreciate them for the great job they're doing. And even the former EPs for the work they have been doing and mentoring and doing their best. And thank you, Fai Konya, watching from Pakistan. So we have people from Pakistan. Reverend, we're closing. Your final words, sir, and then we'll be done.
I want to thank you also for what you're doing. You've been very consistent for a very long time. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I remember when I came into the youth office, you were the first person who came to the office to talk to me about some strategies and some things we could do. And I'm really grateful. You've been very consistent. And I know you started this long before. I think the very first time I knew you was when during a youth conference in Du, where you were facilitating. Yeah, so thank you for all you're doing, and thank you for this platform. I pray that God will bless it and really expand it. I'm really grateful for all those who are watching, and I pray that God will bless them too.
Amen.
And yes, and continue to use them. And just to say, we are always open, and in any way that we can be of help to anybody, just let us know.
Just let us know. I love that conclusion. Thank you so much, sir, once again, for your mentorship, for your leadership, for your stewardship. You did a great job. I must be very honest. You did a great job with the youth department, with all the initiatives you started, Champion, Touch Lives. Some of these projects are there right now, also touching lives, like the sewing machine center in the center. I think people are benefiting from that a lot. And to late Reverend Tom Martin, thank you for mentoring us wherever you are in heaven. May God hear our voices. May God bless your wife and your kids you left behind. We want to say thank you, though you might not be hearing, but in heaven you will hear this message, Reverend Tom Martin. And to Dr. Nkwala Rene, Reverend Dr. Nkwala Rene, Coach Nkwala, thank you for the great job you're doing. He is a great tool in this ministry also. He did a lot of mentorship with me as well. And I just want to say thank you. And to any other person who is watching, who shall be watching, thank you for watching. Remain blessed. Our special guest today was not any other person but our own Reverend Cosmos Ramoa, who is the founder and the CEO of Seat of Hope. And we're looking forward to hear more about Seat of Hope, even in our subsequent conversations, God willing, if the rapture does not take place. So thank you, everybody. And thank you so much, everybody, and have a great night. Let's allow Reverend to go and rest right now. Let's know who Reverend here now. Reverend, thank you once again, sir.
Thank you so much. Anytime.
Yeah, anytime, brother. Thank you so much, sir. So, and that was how we saw it today at the Global Speakers Advantage podcast. Wherever you are, stay tuned. Next Saturday, we're going to be bringing in our next guest, and the great entrepreneur, Cameroonian entrepreneur, United States, that is touching lives, impacting lives, also hospital in Cameroon, and you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned because we're bringing a very, very another episode with this guy, And until we meet again, see you.